So, hello everyone, and a warm welcome to our webinar. Thank you all for joining us today. Now, we understand how busy you all are, and we truly appreciate you taking the time to be with us for the next 30 minutes or so. My name is Faisal Akhtar, and I'm delighted to be joined by my colleague, Thomas Krauklis. We're part of the customer success team here at NC Squared, and we're thrilled to be your hosts for today's webinar. Now, before we dive into the exciting content, let me cover some housekeeping details first. So this webinar will be one way, meaning only Tom's and I will be on camera and audio, including any recordings. However, we encourage you to actively participate by asking questions through the chat or question panel, which some of you have already discovered. Now let's have a look at today's agenda. In just a moment, Tom's and I will take you on a tour of the exciting new features in our latest release. After that, we'll reserve some time to address any questions you might have. So don't hesitate to share them in the chat as they come to mind, and we'll respond to them towards the end. Lastly, we'll wrap up with some essential next steps and key takeaways for you. But before we jump into the features, let's quickly recap why we've gathered here today. So the latest release of Distribution Engine by NC Squared is called Meerkat. It was released on the 16th of January, so you may already be using it. The upgrade is seamless and preserves all of your configuration and settings. It's available on the App Exchange already at no additional cost to our customers, so you can choose when to update. But remember, we will start to push this to customers from the week of the 19th of February. And also, please, if you can, try and stay until the end of the webinar, where we'll unveil an exclusive sneak peek of something we've been working on. So without further ado, let's get started. And Toms will begin by taking you through some of the newest features in Distribution Engine. So over to you, Toms.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So what have we added for you in this release? First off, we're excited to share with you our latest improvements to the performance page. We know that every organization has its unique metrics that define success. So you can now create custom metrics based on the available data in your org to monitor your team's performance. That way you can make data-driven decisions and tailor your performance-driven routing. Next, we're introducing personas. That's for custom permissions. Managing who can see and do what in DE can be challenging with just one set of custom permissions. Personas allow you to configure multiple sets of custom permissions with different levels of access and assign them to your team managers as appropriate for their role in your organization. We've also improved our export-import feature. There are times when you need to make changes and test your configuration in a sandbox or other lower environment, and then move your configuration over to production. In addition to being able to move your teams and tag collections between environments, you can now migrate your territory maps. Finally, we have made several other changes and additions, such as the classifier can now be invoked via API, and we have further improved the test tool and assignment simulator to improve accuracy, and you now have more configurable options for CAP behavior when using them together with sticky assignment. We've introduced a distributor delay feature, and we've also optimized the screen width usage for larger displays. So let's have a closer look at these new features, starting off with custom performance metrics. If you want to route records based on performance, for example, rewarding your high-performing team members to give them more or better leads, we have enhanced the performance page to help achieve this more easily. You can now create your own custom metrics, choose which attributes of the team member are linked to performance, and display and edit the matching tags, making the setup and management of performance-based distribution a lot easier. So let's have a look at this in DE. There are two parts to the new performance page. Part 1, selecting and monitoring the metrics. And Part 2, making decisions based on these metrics for performance-driven distribution. This page will look different for everyone, as now you can create your own custom metrics that are displayed here in these columns. Here, we see a list of metrics I have chosen to display for my example. Let's have a closer look at the available configuration options. Select the Configure Metrics option from the three-dot menu here. First, you can choose to display one of the predefined options we have created for you. Some examples are conversion rates for leads or close rates for cases, distribution fidelity, hours worked, records distributed, hours available, reassignments, and time to action. For my example, I've selected the hours worked, records assigned, and conversion rates. You now also have the option to create your own custom metrics. For example, I want to know the average annual revenue of leads my team members received. To do this, I've selected the custom and selected the relevant field. Annual revenue is a field I have populated on the lead in my org. You will see the fields in your org in this drop-down here. Next, select the operator. These include min, max, average, and sum. I'll choose average. Here, I have another custom metric, average number of employees. Again, I've selected custom, the relevant field from my org, and the operator. You also have the option to see metrics for specific types of records only. For example, I want to see metrics for my priority 1 leads only. The next configuration option is to manage performance tags. For example, if your distribution logic is based on team member performance, with different groups of users receiving a different share of available records, in that case, these users can be grouped by tags, which you can display on the performance page for easy performance management. You can have up to 3 tag collections selected. The options here are none. No tag collections will be displayed. Waiting and caps will show the tag collections you use in your waiting and caps setup. Or custom lets you choose which tag collections you want to display. The last configuration option is to download performance data. This will download a CSV file of the performance data displayed. The next step is to monitor these performance metrics and make decisions based on them. For example, Casey on my team has exceeded all expectations and converted a lot of leads last month. I'd like Casey to start receiving more premium leads from now on. If I click in the row, a side panel opens. From here, I can manage the performance tags for this user. In my distribution logic, this requires Casey to have the top performance tag from the performance level tag collection. This is a tag collection I have created and is specific to my setup. You can also update tags for multiple team members at once by selecting them and using this Assign Tags button here. Now, putting it all together, you have one dedicated place to manage your performance-driven distribution. Great. To recap what we saw, first, we looked at choosing which metrics to show on the new performance page, including custom metrics. Next, we looked at deciding which tag collections to have available on this page, and finally, how it all ties together, looking at the performance data and adjusting the relevant tags for a team member for performance-driven distribution. Next, Faisal will show us the new Personas feature.
Thank you, Toms. Now let's take a look at a couple of features that help with the administration of Distribution Engine. So the first is our expansion to custom permissions, where you can now create personas. So you'll remember in our Llama release, we introduced custom permissions, so allowing for team manager roles to be defined that allow access to certain parts of the application, but not others. In Meerkat, we now allow for multiple sets of permissions to be defined and assigned within Distribution Engine to allow for different users to have different types of access to the application. So if, for example, you're working across several lines of business, you might have team manager roles that need access to different things. And that's where our concept of personas comes in. So a persona is a grouping of custom permissions, and we can have up to 10 of these personas. So you may have one set of permissions for your sales team and one set for your support teams. And with these, they can then only access their own teams, but have their own set of permissions as well. So let's have a look at this in the app. So let's start here on the distribution settings page, where you'll see here on the left, we have a section for custom permissions where we can add personas and then assign them to individuals or groups of users via the persona assignment page. So we have this concept of personas, and these are just a collection of custom permissions. Each persona can have many users assigned, while each user can be assigned to one persona only. And there is also a default or fallback persona which kicks in on upgrades, where settings you've already got for the custom team manager will be converted to this default persona. So this is our new personas page, where we can create personas. We can also manage them, clone them, rename them, and delete them. So let's start by adding a new persona, and let's call this Team Manager. Click the Add Persona button here, and it will take us to a very familiar page from our Llama release, which allows you to define custom permissions for this new Team Manager persona. So you can adjust those as required. And then click Save. Now, if you're wondering how you assign users to personas, we have another page called Persona Assignment here, which allows anyone with a custom team manager role to be assigned to a single persona. So for Bruce here, we can choose which persona to assign them to. So let's pick the new team manager and click Save. And that's updated immediately. And then instead of looking up to the first set of custom permissions, we're looking up to their new set of custom permissions as they navigate the app. And that's all there is to setting up multiple personas, each with their own set of custom permissions. So to recap, our previous release introduced the ability to set up a custom team manager permission set. In this release, we have extended this, allowing the capability to set up multiple personas, each with their own permissions. Any custom permissions already set up will automatically migrate to your default persona. I'll now hand you back to Toms, who will run through the enhancements that we've made to our export and import feature. So over to you, Toms.
Thank you, Faisal. There's a lot that you can configure straight into production and test with the test tool and assignment simulator. However, there are times when you need to work on your setup in another environment, a sandbox, for example. The export and import feature allows you to move setup between environments, and in this release, we're improving this feature further. So let's have a look at this in DE. You can find the export-import feature under the Distribution Settings tab here. Let's start with the export. This allows you to take your existing DE setup from this environment and export it. Let's have a look at what was here already and what have we introduced in this release. Here you can find previous exports, download them, and start a new export. Let's start a new export. First, you can choose which team to export and if this should include team members. Use this option if the team members are the same in both environments. You also have the option to export a tag collection. You can export multiple tag collections at once. In this release, we have added the ability to export a territory map. This is useful if you are using the territory feature from the classifier module. Once you've chosen your export, select Export. This can take a few minutes. Once it is done, you will receive an email and you can download it from the list of exports here. For import, switch to the target org and select Start Import. Choose the file you would like to import and click Next. Review if there are any warnings, correct if needed, and start the import. You can see the progress of the import here, and will be notified via email once it is done. And that's how simple it is to export and import your DE configuration. So to recap, the DE export-import feature allows you to easily move your setup between orgs, and it now supports moving territory maps, saving you more time by not needing to recreate your setup manually. Now over to Faisal, who will walk us through a list of other improvements in this release.
Thanks, Toms. So continuously improving our product is at the heart of all of our releases. And in Meerkat, we've introduced a number of new improvements and tweaks. These include optimizations to display areas for larger monitors, clearer menus to switch between team list and process views, and enhancements to our team members and distributor filtering options. So let's have a look at these in the application. So let's start here within distribution teams and our team list page. So throughout the app, we've made better use of the screen width on larger monitors to optimize what's shown. And here is one area, the team list page, where we've improved things. And you can see how nice and wide the screen is here. We've also made it easier to switch between the list and process views. So for all of you who haven't managed to navigate to our process view page, we've renamed it to assignment process. And here it is in all of its diagrammatic glory. We realized previously it may have been a little concealed, but now we've changed from a button to a tab. It's much easier to access. If we head into a team, we have a couple of changes here too. On the team members page, you now have the ability to view a team member's caps via the new caps column. So if I click onto Peter here, you can view his caps via the pop-up. Now, to increase flexibility around when you can distribute a record, for date time fields, these can now be compared to the current date time at processing. So allowing you to introduce a time delay into your distribution. Now you may want to do that where other systems such as enrichment tools need to complete their processing before assignment, and this is really easy to do. We can add another filter row here. So let's select create a date as an example. And if you want to introduce a 20-minute delay, it's really easy to do as shown. Okay, so those are some of the newest enhancements in our Meerkat. So let me finish off by highlighting some of the other improvements we've made in our latest release. So we've introduced a new API, which allows records to be classified at any time, not just at creation. And this API allows you to specify which classifier functions you want to use and can also be used within Salesforce flows. We've got new cap options for sticky assignments, which allows for the option to choose between assigning to the next team member or not assigning, if respecting caps, and unable to assign to the current sticky owner. Within our test and assignment simulator tools, we've made some optimizations, including an improved display of caps. There's an alert when a previous assignment would cause a prospective assignment to fail. And there's also an alert for when user exclusion filters would cause a prospective assignment to fail. We've increased the visibility of time zones. So where appropriate for the information on the page, the relevant time zone will be displayed. So here on the distribution console page, for example, on the right-hand side of the slide. And we've added a configuration option to specify how long the scheduler logs are retained. So previously this was fixed at 1 week. There is also a new option to consolidate assignment scheduler logs with 0 assignments into a single log, so reducing the data storage needed there. This is handy for testing DE in sandbox environments. We've renamed the team level waiting tab to waiting to avoid any confusion, as waiting is set at the team member level, but performed at a distributor level. And that brings us to the end of our new features and enhancements in Meerkat. Okay, so on to the questions. And I can see there have been quite a few coming in during the demos. So we've got a few minutes to answer these. And I've got our head of product in the background, making sure I give the right answer. So thank you, Charlie. If we don't get to your answers on the broadcast, or questions and answers on the broadcast, we'll still try to answer them afterwards. So if you have any other questions, please pop those in the chat or Q&A panel. Okay, so let's take a look. We have a question here. How do you change the dates from which you want to display data for the performance tab? So that's easy to do. So there's a date filter at the top left of the performance page, and you can look through any dates that you have the logs retained for. Another question here. If we are using teams in Salesforce, can an opportunity be assigned to a secondary team member? So for example, the primary owner is sales. Once an opportunity is ready, we want to distribute to a credit role to be assigned as a team member. So for that one, so at the moment, we don't currently directly support Salesforce team assignment. However, some of our customers have been able to work with our support team to find a solution. So I would encourage you to drop a note into our support team, and I'll mention their email address at the end of the webinar. Okay, so just having a look if there's been any more questions that have come through. I've got another one here. In terms of personas, does personal supersede what their permissions are assigned in Salesforce? And the answer to that one is nothing defined in Distribution Engine will supersede any higher Salesforce permissions. Okay, if you think of any more, please do send those over. Got another one here. Can more than one persona be assigned to a user? For that one, no. A user may only have one persona assignment. However, one persona may have many users. Okay, just seeing if there's any other last minute questions. Another one here. Does importing override what already exists in the org? So we're talking about the territory import, I believe here, i.e. if you make changes in sandbox, test, and then deploy to production. I'll just wait for Charlie to provide an answer to that one. So if the team or tag collections being imported already exist in the org, the import will override. For territory specifically, the import will create a draft version. And any teams or distributors that are present in the org but not in the import package will be deactivated but not removed from the team on that import. Hopefully we've answered that. Yeah, but just to summarize, so if the team or tag collections being imported already exist in the org, the import will override any existing configuration and settings. For territories, an import will create a draft version of the territory map if it already exists. If it doesn't exist, it's then created. Okay. I think that's all in terms of questions that have come through. So thank you, everybody, for posting those across to us. Okay. So hopefully you've learned a little bit about the great new features our product and engineering teams have been working on over the past few months. In summary, we're thrilled to present the latest enhancements to our performance page. You can now create custom metrics to monitor team performance, make data-driven decisions, and customize performance-driven routing. We have personas for custom permissions, which offer a flexible approach, allowing multiple sets of permissions for tailored access. And our export-import feature has been upgraded to include territory maps. Other updates include API invocation for the classifier, improved test tool and assignment simulator features, enhanced configurable options for CAP behavior with sticky assignment, a new distributor delay feature, and an optimized screen width usage for larger monitors. There are lots of other small improvements, so please check out the latest release notes for full details. Okay, so before we finish off today, we're very excited to share some news with you all. We've started working on developing a new app. It's an innovative Salesforce-based booking platform that streamlines your scheduling process by seamlessly pulling together customers, representatives, organizational data, and calendars. So imagine effortlessly booking meetings based on future availability with multiple attendees, whether internal or external, without the hassle of calendar negotiation. So with our booking app, it's all about efficiency and ease. So the app is designed with two primary use cases in mind. So firstly, the internal hot handover. So effortlessly transitioning qualified prospects from the sales development representatives to account executives with instant on-the-spot booking capabilities. And secondly, web demo booking. So empower prospects to schedule demos directly from your website, so reducing friction and increasing the likelihood of attendance. So while our initial focus is on the sales sector, we see vast potential across various industries, including the service sector. We're currently in the initial stages of development, and we'll kick off with the handover use case, and there will be integrations with Google, Microsoft, and Zoom. So with our new app, you can secure those crucial meetings while prospects are engaged and eliminate the risk of no-shows. So we're looking forward to updating you with more news over the coming months. And if you'd like to be involved in helping to shape and validate the product as an early adopter, please drop us a line at hello@nc-squared.com. So to wrap things up, there are three main next steps that I'd like to point you towards. First of all, if you've already installed or have that scheduled in the next few weeks, I'd encourage you to check out the release notes on our knowledge base. Simply go to help.nc-squared.com/Meerkat. That has details of all the features that you've seen today, as well as a full guide to the update procedure. Next up, if you're ready to upgrade, you simply need to go to the Distribution Engine App Exchange listing and hit the Get It Now button. Finally, as a reminder, we will start pushing the new release to customers who haven't yet upgraded in the week commencing February 19th. If you'd prefer us to push to your org earlier, or you have any other upgrade questions, please email us on support@nc-squared.com. All that remains is for me to say a big thank you to you all for your time today and for being our customers. From Tom and I, we hope you have a great rest of your day and enjoy the new features in Distribution Engine Meerkat.
Thanks, everyone.